Yo, yo, yo. Welcome to wNS9 Plus. I'm your host, Anthony DiNardo. With me, we have, as always, we got Jim. We have Tyler. Special guest today, though. We got the Fort, Michael McKenry. What's up, my guy?
What's up? And we've already established no tag talk.
We'll play
it's
by
off
ear.
limits today. If it's talked about, we're going to wrestle MMA style. All right. That's the way
fair.
it's going to go.
Fort, you think I can't take you?
I feel pretty confident I'll be okay.
You don't. I mean, you. If we're
Comment
going
below if you
Hey,
think
hold
Tyler
on,
can
hold
take
on. If
Fort.
we're
Yeah, I don't
going,
know.
like-
Fort's got that catcher body.
hold on. If we're going
yeah.
MMA style, he's got to drop weight here. I'm not going up. He's got to come down to my weight.
I am working on dropping weight. So what weight class you want to go?
Well, I think I weigh about 150 pounds. So
Well,
come
I'm
on
not going-
down, buddy.
I'm not going down to the girl weight. So you
Come
gotta
on
bulk
down,
up a little,
buddy.
okay? Yeah. You got to be like Creed. Let's bulk up a little. Get in that big boy class.
No, I mean you're the challenger. You got to come down to me.
Challenger, you're going to challenge me if you say tag. Because
already
did you
said
you
tag.
tag him? Did you tag him? Come on now, let's go.
Well, I mean, there was a question mark. I just reporters over here.
Yeah.
I was like, speaking of a different Creed, Creed is at the ALCS tonight.
Oh, that's probably a banger.
Is he?
Yeah.
That's sick. You think he's taking it higher?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, had to. That's awesome.
I didn't know
I
that.
love that.
Rangers won this game for sure then.
They're
Did-
down big.
Did you guys have, like, when you played ball or like, anything, a theme song that just caught on with a team that you were on at some point?
Party in the USA by Miley Cyrus.
Oh, that caught on when Tula walked out to it in Colorado.
Banger.
Yeah. That was
Yeah,
the USA baseball theme when they won the gold in, I think it was 2022 in Bradenton. That's 18U team. So, yeah, Miley was there. What about you guys?
I don't think we did. Like for the most part, like on bus rides and stuff, we'd have our headphones in, everybody be listening to what they what their pump up music was, but we didn't really have like a team song.
So you were on that I team, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Just a bunch of individuals.
You know what? If you got a bunch of individuals who are playing well, though, it makes for a good team.
That's true.
There it
That's
is.
true.
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah. As long as they're pulling the same direction.
Yep.
What?
Yeah, I can't say like we had like a team song, but like I was very ritualistic. So I had like mixtapes I had to listen to in a specific order before
too.
every game or whatever. But what I'll say, it wasn't like a theme song, but our team was we were weird. I'll say that, especially music wise. And we really got into Wesley Willis. And I'm just gonna say that, like, with caution, look him up if you want to.
Yeah, I don't know who that is.
We bonded over Wesley Willis, and I, again, with caution, listen to that. I don't recommend it. Don't listen. Don't let your children listen to it. but again, yeah, like for me, hey, those albums behind me, most of those people were in those mixtapes.
I love
I
it.
will say this. So Cody brings up like Bon Jovi. We did have one guy on our team who was like this huge Bon Jovi fan. So he would always play Bon Jovi. So maybe I would say that was kind of like our adopted team song. But
What
nah,
about
for the
that
most part,
suit Cody had on? Was that Cody in that picture?
yeah. Look
He
at
looks
that.
like,
He's sharp.
yeah, wow. He looks like a white Cat Williams. He just needs a hat. Yeah, pimp juice. That's funny.
Ford, I don't know if you remember the Carly Rae Jepsen phenomenon of Call Me Maybe.
Oh yeah,
When
I remember Call Me Maybe.
Oh, when
Yeah.
you guys remember the viral video of the bus of, I don't remember the dance, but yeah, that was a big thing when I was in high school.
I keep thinking of Cookie Monster. Cookie Maybe. That's the only thing I could ever think about.
That was another big one though.
Yeah, it was. Do you know what we had in 13?
What?
Ooh.
No,
Don't Stop Believing by Journey. It was Clint Barmas all the way.
that's
Okay.
right. That was Barmas's walk-up song.
Yep.
Yeah.
It started in 12 towards
Mhm.
the end. Barmas never caught because we had Pink Floyd. I can't think of the song. No recess, no something. I don't remember what it is. Pink Floyd was 2012, and it was AJ and all the older guys singing to the coaching staff. No early work. No, it was hilarious. I'll have to think of the song and send it to you guys. You'll crack up.
Ford, what was your walk-up music? I can't remember.
It changed year to year, but probably my favorite was Andy Mineo, Can't Stop Me. And I believe in 14, I won the walk-up song of the year, best walk-up song of the year. So
There you go.
best year there. Yeah, so that was my best year.
Yeah, you killed the ball that year.
Yeah, I was
So speaking of 2013 and the playoffs, this is a good segue to kind of the thing that I wanted to talk about tonight. A lot has been made about the current playoff format, and you've got these teams who are now left in the league. I mean, the National League alone, you've got the 4 seed against the 6 seed. You had a lot of these top teams who played really well over 162 game season. They get knocked out early. Lots been made about this. Like, is it a reward to have those days off because maybe it messed up people's timing, whatnot? But what are your thoughts on that? How do you compare like the current format to what it was like back in 2013 when you had just like one day to get up for something, and then you kind of rolled into the the quote unquote regular playoffs? Just how big of an effect does that have on players?
It's a huge effect. I think when you get to that 4-game range, you get in kind of that uncharted territory. I mean, that's pretty much the All-Star break, if not a little bit longer. And most guys aren't fully practicing, taking live at bats, and live at bats aren't the same. They almost make you feel worse. I know the Braves are actually inter-squatting, and I think it's almost impossible to stay sharp. And I think a team like the Braves, it really hurt because their offense is so strong. And then all of a sudden they have to go out and face a team that is running, right? And they've just been kind of on an escalator going down, just chilling, listening to elevator music. And now they're all of a sudden playing for their lives. I would like to see the whole format change. I'd like to see more teams. I'd like to see the best records get the best seeds. So not division. I think you get rewarded. Congratulations, you won your division. But if the Phillies have 99 wins and someone else has less, even if they won their division, the Phillies have a higher seed. And I would love to see that 1-game playoff back. That fight, and try to run through it as fast as you can, play every night. And even if they have to, they're already doing it in spring training. Like, we don't need that much time. They're going earlier. If we start the season a little earlier, get these playoffs going, I think good things could happen. And maybe we wouldn't be caught in the mess of college football, NHL, NFL, and all this going all at the same time. But they're still pulling really good ratings. But I'd love to see more of an NBA, NHL, and NFL format. Maybe 16 teams.
It's a lot of teams let in after a 162 game season where you kind of.
What if you won 152, right? And then
That's
added.
Never gonna happen.
It's not, but they'd make up the money. Especially if they expand. Once they expand, you're going to want 16 teams, I think.
I didn't know how bad of an analyst you were.
That has nothing to do with the analyst. That's like business.
You're
stuff.
analyzing these MLB playoff formats, and it's terrible.
Well, what would you do? I like it. What would you do?
No, here's my thing. I just hate the 1-game playoff, like the wild card. Like, you want to bring that back?
Because I think about that wild card game, and I know I know you guys lost 2 years right afterwards. But
see, that's the thing, is he has to throw you guys for the last two. The one fun one.
Yeah,
he was
Colorado Rockies. Yeah, when I was there, we won. When I wasn't, you didn't. Sorry. But I think the fact is like there's so much emotion to that, and you see it kind of boil down to those last couple of games. I mean, we almost had a 3-team play-in this year to find out seeding. The Miami Marlins almost had to fly back to New York to play. And that's the thing. That's baseball. You play 162 games, and then it boils down to the last 2. It's wild. And I always think about the Colorado Rockies when Matt Holliday slid in and they won 21 straight. That wouldn't happen now, right? They had to win a play-in game and then win the wild card game, and then they took off. And I think, a team like the Pirates in small markets could get hot at the right time and not have that good of a team and take off because they have one good arm that's really firing well. The other team, maybe like Texas doesn't have their best arm, and they take over because it's a best against best series. And I think that would be really cool and give more teams opportunities. And we've seen that, when we're looking at the seedings, who's winning? It's not the best teams. So I think just more opportunity. And I think it'll probably end up being like the NBA where, teams try to figure out where they could seed the best. And I would hate that. That's the only thing I would hate, because analytics suck sometimes, and that's what they would do.
I'm not really sure as far as I'm with you. I don't know about the delay. Like if you're winning you're winning 105 games and you got to sit for 4 days while the team that you play is on a roll, right? Like I feel like that's maybe not the best way to go about it. If it were up to me, I would go backwards. I would let less teams in. I would make it, I would make the regular season more important. And you have to be good in the regular season to make the postseason. I actually think it was a pretty good format before, where you had those 2 wild card teams and they played each other in one game in a 1-game playoff. Or maybe there's a way to do it where, I don't know if like the Players Association would go for this, but maybe you play a double header or something, and if you need to play a third game, you play that the next day. Like,
yeah,
and I know
see what you're saying, but yeah, they would never. MLBPA would just balk at it the whole time.
Yeah, so like that would be interesting, and that would be fun, and I think that would solve the whole layoff issue. Like you're only then sitting a day or 2 as opposed to 4 days. I don't know about expanding. Like I said, I was against expanding this time around just because I felt like it was going to de-incentivize teams to like really go for it. We've even seen that. Like we've got GM straight up saying that their goal isn't really to win divisions. It's to win 80 or 54% of their games or whatever. So you've got teams now shooting to be basically just good enough.
They could incentivize winning the division in a different way, I think. Like maybe that's how you move up in the draft order. Give them incentives to win that so it's competitive, because I think it should be separate. College is separate. I think the minor leagues are separate, and they took away the DH. So we have one giant league. We're playing every team, and it's not fair. It is literally not fair that the NL East and the AL East next year are probably going to be juggernauts, right? They're going to be absolutely phenomenal. And you're going to have probably four teams on both sides winning 90 games. And those teams aren't going to make the playoffs. Hopefully we make the playoffs at 83 games, but we shouldn't get a higher seed. We shouldn't, because we didn't have a better season. Even if we won our division like the Twins did, we did not have a better season. And that's one thing I would love to see, because that incentivizes you, because, but then like you guys said, the more teams you add in, they'll try to play matchups, like, oh, if we lose here, whatever. So they're going to have to figure out ways to balance it. I would love to see the, what's that? Ted Lasso. If you're last in the league, you get booted the minor leagues. I'd love to see that rule come in. How sick would that be? Like Oakland's just out.
Yeah,
they're going to AAA.
Well, I don't think that's ever going to happen, but that would definitely make for
to
more.
This podcast,
the Pirates, we'd be in complex league right now. We'd be playing the Arizona complex league Diamondbacks or something.
Yeah. How long do you think it is till they actually expand? I think it's right on the horizon. I really do.
I feel like it's close.
When's this CBA up?
3 years. So 3 years.
2026. So I would expand as soon as you can. And so like if that has to be the point, I would do it then.
I would honestly, I don't even know if they've finished the actual original bargaining agreement. I still think they're working on stuff.
Yeah.
Because have you ever heard an announcement that it's completely done? I have not got an email.
Well, what happened? Like they were going to talk about like doing an international draft. Like that was something they were going to decide later. But I think they did. And Ethan's probably listening to this, and he'll put something in the comments.
Ethan would know.
Ethan would know for sure. I think they were like, let's hold off on this. And I want to say they came out and said that they're not doing the international draft, and because of that, the players had to give something up. But I forget what that was.
Oh, the players are giving up a lot. We just don't know what it is yet.
That's the weird thing.
You think about what all we won right? Maybe it's the rules, but we're giving up a lot. I don't know what it is. I probably should get more involved. But yeah, when the minor leagues got a union and MLB literally monopolized the entire minor league system and college, summer ball and everything else, I was like, oh boy, that's exactly how it works. They are monopolizing everything.
Yeah.
And that's why the minor leaguers have a union. That's my opinion and probably facts because they're killing it.
So
I mean, I like Manfred,
just,
but the dude is a good business dude.
It's a weird
Here it
thing.
was
though.
right here.
Like, does it not feel like every year there's new rules put in just completely irrelevant to the CBA? Like they just add
Since
new stuff
COVID.
every year.
Well, it's because we only have 4 votes as players. There's 12 votes, 8 votes go to the MLB. So there's
Just
no
everything. Yeah, everything's getting overridden by the MLB.
Yeah, the players didn't want any of the things that happened this year. I think it turned out well. I think maybe they wanted the ban of the shift, or maybe, a couple things, but yeah, they didn't want it because the research behind it was terrible. That's why Tommy Johns were so up. They knew that was coming. There was 60% growth in Tommy Johns. It was in the minor leagues. Eric Cressy wrote an article about it that it was going to come because those guys had never trained that way. And you don't think about a couple seconds being a big deal, but it is because they don't get the blood flow. They don't get the recovery. Those guys don't train like that. They train like Ferraris. We don't have many Honda Civics anymore.
Yeah, not a lot of people kind of built to. There's not too many people out there who are throwing 200 innings and just
Tyler, here's your chance.
time after time.
So I think there's an argument to be made there about not being able to ramp up during COVID and how much does that affect?
Oh, stop it.
Now?
Stop it.
I do think that
Stop
there's
it.
something to be said about nobody.
Stop it.
I think there needs to be more studies on that.
Go look at the minor leagues prior to that with all the little changes.
I just think I'm a wait and see kind of guy. Let's just.
I do think that there's a huge effect with them not playing in 2020. I do.
I thought there would be more after 2020 that year. And I'm still I was waiting to see kind of the after effects of it. Obviously doing this right now might have really increased it, but I do think maybe that had something to do with it.
Between that and the tacky stuff?
Well, there's that as well.
That's it.
There was a lot of things that happened to pitchers very
There's a whole
quick.
firestorm. Yeah.
By the way, a lot of those dudes I asked, they didn't know what that tack stuff was.
Spider
tack.
Mhm.
I'd never heard of it. And I started asking guys that were getting, banged for it. And none of them. I was like, seriously? They're like, no, like I didn't know what it was. Like, yeah, am I using stuff? Absolutely. Everyone does. I mean, I cheated for every pitcher I had, technically, because I had pine tar in my glove.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, that's something
Like Molina cheated his
that's not
rear end off.
I mean, Molina, there's that
yeah,
one
we knew
image
that.
of Molina with the
Right?
baseball stuck to his chest protector. He's just
Right?
standing there, baseball stuck to him.
It's so crazy.
I do think it's like a combination of a lot of things that happened at once. So maybe it's one of those things I would like to wait and see a little more and see what happens.
I would, if you want to look into it a little bit deeper, go into pitch design too. That's been a huge issue because guys aren't prepared to do it. I feel like that's why Burrows got hurt. So he went down and they shaped a new slider, which was disgusting. And they were working on a cutter. Well, he did that in December. The protocol for most of those guys, they're not throwing a lot of off-speed stuff in December. The only way to shape pitches and actually map that out is you have to throw it a lot. And you have to find a balance. Trevor Bauer's made it famous. You have to learn how to spin it and understand once the velocity kicks up, that spin's going to go faster and the movement's going to be bigger, but you have to kind of quantify what it is at 80 when you throw it at 88. And those guys can't. They literally go full throttle red line and they're throwing 88 in bullpens. I never saw guys throw 88 mile an hour sliders in bullpens unless they were a closer. And that was in spring training. It's a different world. Rich Hill brought that up to me and we talked about it for almost an hour in spring training about how there's no more touch and feels. There's no more, hey, I'm just going to kind of get a feel for this pitch today, or I'm going to go out and play catch and play long toss with my changeup.
Yeah.
Dudes want to get on the Rapsodo or TrackMan or flight scope and see the movement profiles and chase it. And it's not good, because that's like going to the gym every single day and, maxing out in a squat. It's eventually going to catch up because you're not working all the other things to handle that load.
That's interesting though, because I do watch a lot of pitching videos, and it's a lot of working on change-ups or something like that, where it's, all right, you threw this one at 84. Let's get it up to 85. So going back to you being a catcher, were you ever a guy that was certain guys work faster? Were you a guy that said just work faster here instead of maybe trying to think of the old pitch? What was his Bastardo that would take?
I was about to say, I was like, did you ever tell Antonio Bastardo?
Like, come on, let's work. Were you that kind of catcher where you were telling a guy, let's work a little faster here?
It all depended on their personality and what would benefit them. So like Bastardo was hard to hit because he was slow.
Or
I loved.
He was also hard to watch.
Yeah, but like there's something to be said. Like when you work fast or work slow, you're kind of away from the natural flow of the game. So it throws your timing off. And when I mean timing is like you're sitting there, you're like, okay, like, and then your brain starts going, you start thinking about things and you're like, oh, like what's going on? Is he doing something here? And you over process, and that's never a good thing. So you want to be thoughtless. That's why I think O'Neal Cruz and some of these guys that maybe can think too much that are so talented are going to be better off with these new rules, because it's going to make them think less and they're just going to react. And obviously when they're superhuman, that's going to really help. Andy Bass actually brought that to my attention with Cruz. I don't want to take that. So.
Sorry, I was just curious there about.
Yeah. I think it's weird. You chase 1 mile an hour. I always thought you chase movement and the effectiveness of the pitch. Like my favorite's like, oh yeah, that shape's really good, and it gets blasted in the gap. I'm like,
yeah,
it couldn't have been that good, right? Like
I'll see these pitching coaches tell them to throw a sweeper, and all right, throw this one at 88, and it's just a terrible pitch, but the movement was great. Like that's a terrible pitch though.
Yeah,
like it's going to hit the batter.
Right. Isn't that wild? Like, and take that step even further. I'm really passionate about the whole Tommy John and injuries because I had some weird injuries just genetically. And I think because the way they protect guys in the minor leagues, and this is what scares me about Skeens and guys that get drafted, high profile pitchers, is the fact that you can't protect a lion. Let him be out in the wild and let him tame himself, because you understand your body better than anyone, especially now, especially guys like him who have one of the best pitching coaches in the country. Let them figure it out on their own and then push that threshold. I just did a tournament in Nashville, and a 58-year-old guy threw 3 games in a row, 3 innings every single game, and then came out and shut him down for 6 innings on the 4th day. Velocity didn't change. Movement didn't change. I mean, yeah, he's not throwing 100, but like that's what it used to be, and we can do that still, but we're just not building him that way. And I don't think you can build him that way if you're protecting him all the time, because you have handcuffs on him. That's why guys come up to the big leagues and get hurt, especially bullpen guys.
Yeah, I saw, speaking of the Tommy John stuff, I got into this a little bit, I guess it was Monday, but 2016, 27.4% of all pitchers had Tommy John surgery. This year, that number's up to 35.3%. So that's about it's like a 30% jump, over a 7-year span in pitchers with Tommy John surgery.
So is that prior to getting to the big leagues or prior to pro ball? Or?
Total. So like total major league pitchers who have had Tommy John surgery. So the percentage is going up every single year, and it goes up by about 1% every year for like the last 7 to 8 years, which, it directly correlates with what you mentioned, the rule changes in the minors. It correlates with, this velocity, revolution where you're just throwing max effort as much as possible. So it's interesting because, you're a team like the Pirates, and you've got to keep your pitchers healthy if you really want to do what you want to do. Like that was one thing about those teams that went to the playoffs for the Pirates. Like in 2013, I think the Pirates only had like 7 people start a game, like the entire season. You don't see that happen anymore. I think this year the Pirates had like 9 or 10. But if you can get 30 starts out of the majority
starters
of your
or
rotation,
starts.
yeah, yeah. But I mean,
You're gonna get me hot again. You guys are pushing my buttons.
But I'm just talking like, look at this year. Like this year would have been way different if you had a healthy Mike Burrows and you had a healthy JT Brubaker and you had a healthy Vince Velasquez the entire season. Who knows what could have happened? Because then you wouldn't have had to rely on those guys in May, June, July who just were terrible. You wouldn't have had to have gone 2 full months with a 2-man rotation. So it's just keeping people
that was
healthy.
scary to me, by the way. Like I don't know how they let that happen. I haven't gotten to talk to anybody in the front office, but like think about it. They made our 2 horses take the load.
Mm-hmm.
And then the bullpen took the load. And that hasn't gone well. I mean, I thought Dwayne Underwood was going to be really good until I realized he was never going to be healthy. And because he's not healthy, he had no feel. And everybody's like, oh, he always gives it up. I'm like, dude can't feel his hand. Like, I mean, he has nerve issues because he throws too much. Will Crow, same thing. And then he's down in the minor leagues starting because he just wants to get back to the big leagues. But I mean, we overexposed him, and luckily they shut down Majinski this year, and I thought it was brilliant to kind of slow him down. I don't think he had anything wrong. I think they just kind of wanted to slow him down. He's throwing live BPs. But yeah, I think they're learning as they go with a lot of this stuff, and it's scary, to be honest.
So we talked about this quite a bit down the stretch, especially with Oviedo and Keller. Like you look at Keller's final numbers this season, and they're pretty pedestrian, right? But you look at, if you watched Keller pitch throughout the season, you knew that Keller had a really good season, right? But with the Pirates and the way that they were just constructed, they had to get innings out of Mitch Keller every time he was out there. If this team had a 5-man rotation with consistent starters, those games where Keller where he didn't have it, but they were like, you know what, you've got to wear this one. And there were a few times where that had to happen. You know, that ERA looks a lot better if the Pirates have a full functioning pitching rotation and a pitching staff than it does right now. And same with Oviedo. It was just those last 2 months, they just absolutely had to get 5+ out of those guys. And so no matter
let me
what,
ask you guys this is like, I think it's going to be beneficial because I think Keller learned how to throw to somebody other than Delay. I think he had to learn himself. He had to learn how to pitch without his best stuff. I mean, there's times where he went into the game and it's like he didn't leave the game plan. Like I'm looking at, I only had the scouting report a couple of times. I hated looking at it because I wanted to see how often it changed. And sometimes when you look at it, you're like, you get kind of, I guess, locked into what they're doing and you get almost brainwashed, I guess. Cognitive dissonance of whatever. So I try to not look at it. And I was like, all right, here's what he's going to do. And he wouldn't deviate. And that's when he really struggled. He just kept running back to the same stuff that is right, but it wasn't right for the day. And that's the biggest problem that most of these guys have. Like Ortiz didn't know how to compete when things went bad. Contreras didn't know how to compete when things went bad. Oviedo. And I think there's going to be a benefit moving forward with these guys being able to compete and figuring out how to get through 5, figure out how to get through 4 and just give up 2. And we saw that at the end of the season. I think that's going to be a huge benefit. And I think it's going to take 15 rotational starters, openers, bulk guys to get through a major league season, moving forward a lot of times. Maybe it's 12, but you want to have, that much depth. And I think we have it. And you're not going to probably throw that many. Hopefully it is 7, but it'd be nice to have 10 guys you can rely on. I think we're going to have that next year, or at least close.
I think that's
fair.
A lot.
Well, what do I say too? So back to your comment, Jim. I looked it up in 2013. There was actually technically 12, but 10 had 4 or more. I mean, you had Burnett, Locke, Liriano, Morton, Cole, Wandy,
Brandon Compton.
I mean, that's
Gomez,
6.
McDonald, Compton, Sanchez, and then Johnson and Irwin each had 1 start. So like technically there were more, but yeah, I mean, 10 had 4 or more starts.
And all those guys at some point had a 2 ERA for at least a half.
Oh gosh. I mean, actually, you look at this, the season ends. So yeah,
Jeff Locke had like a 3.59 ERA.
Jeff Locke was like 8-1 with a
He was an
For
all-star
the
that year.
2.9
and
ERA.
Wandy had the
yeah.
highest out of the top 7 at 3.59.
Yeah, and
James
it's because
McDonald,
he had a
5.79,
really bad
Conklin,
last month, I believe.
2.05.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the injury and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, and if we would have
But
done it
7
right,
starters
McDonald
with
would have gone straight out to the bullpen, let that curveball play, that slider play.
I
But
mean,
that's the game that's different.
2013 McDonald wasn't really. 2012 McDonald was a stud.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was all Rod Barajas. He doesn't get enough credit. He was really, really good. He was better for our pitching staff than Russell Martin. Nobody will ever say that, but I'll say it. Because he
That's
didn't
fair.
look at a scouting report not one time. Never. He had the best
That is
feel.
maybe the hottest take I've ever heard.
Yep. Well, Russell Martin was a better player all around, and he was a better receiver. But
You're talking calling a game.
Calling a game and who made AJ Burnett, right? Who made Jeff Locke, who made these guys take a step forward without Barajas. And I mean, we really battled with those guys in 12 to get them forward. And I think if we had Jeff Karstens healthy in 13, he would have been one of our best pitchers too.
I love that dude. Speaking of guys, pitch fast.
Yeah.
Pitched fast, just a competitor all around too.
Yep. And I think that's where we're at. I think we have a lot of talent and we have depth. And I think guys will take a step forward, but we won't have to have Quinn Priester in the big leagues if he's not ready. We won't have to have Ortiz in the big leagues if he's not ready. And if we have all those guys in AAA, our AA staff's going to be loaded. And I think you look at that and you're like, ooh, okay, we're going to have some really, really good things going on. And we haven't had that in a long time. A long time.
Speaking of catching, tell me there's a lot of things I like about Andy Rodriguez behind the plate. I think the twitchiness, the receiving, I think for the most part's good. What do you not like at this point that you've seen from him?
He's too coachable.
Expand on that. Yeah.
What I mean is he falls in patterns. He tips his pitches sometimes the way he sets up, and that gets him comfortable. That's why he blocked incredibly well, but there's days where he just blocked bad. Mm-hmm. It's because he falls in patterns, and he's expecting what should happen instead of what normally happens. Is usually not exactly how you draw it up, and how to help guys find their middle on given days. Like one thing I picked up and I told the staff was during warmups, Indy did not make the ball work for the pitcher. So Quinn Priester was throwing and he had a bad inning after Indy, and then Delay went out. Delay actually, he didn't over adjust, but he moved to where Priester needed to throw the ball. Indy set up down the middle and allowed Priester to let his hand kind of fall back. Rhythm was off, and then he's leaving all of his pitches up. He's trying to throw his breaking ball. It gets destroyed. But then Delay goes out, and he has a great inning. And those little things are what matter. That's what I was, in my opinion, really good at, is I could find the little things to help them find their lane, to find their middle. Like middle is not middle for some guys. Like Ortiz, a couple times this year, his ball was cutting naturally, and he was trying to throw sinkers. And then Indy was continually doing that, and it was going down. It was going down. It was going down. And instead, they just started throwing fastballs up, and he got destroyed. And it's like, no, play the cutter. Just play it. It's there today. You can't change it. There's a mobility issue, whatever it is, just play it. And those are the things he has to learn on his own. And it may take a veteran to kind of take him under his wing, like Oviedo. Like he did some things with Oviedo I didn't like either, but come to find out, Oviedo kind of pushed that envelope a lot more than I thought. So, yeah, I think he's going to learn those things. And the next thing is he didn't hit the way he should.
Yeah.
I mean, my rookie season technically was just as good or better offensively than that's not good, right? He played every single day. He had 3 homers. He was a 25 homer guy in the minor leagues. That tells me not that the big leagues was overwhelming. It's that the catching side was dominated in his mind. And I go back to spring training when he said, yeah, I need to go to AAA. I need to get better at catching. No, you're literally one of the best hitters on our team day one in spring training. I'm watching it. I'm like, oh my gosh, this guy's a different animal. I hadn't seen a guy like that in a while. Mm-hmm. And I didn't see that same guy the first week in Indianapolis. I'm watching him like, this isn't the same dude. and then the movement starts getting off, and then the legs start losing, and he's trying to get back to who he was, but he's not the same player because he's not playing the same positions. So I hope it works out well, but if he learns from it and grows, I think it'll really take off and he could be a real Muto type. But I would love to see him play more positions. I think his value's way higher that way because he's very good defensively in some other positions. I think he solves a first base issue if he hits next year.
So it's interesting. So I want to go back to the thing you said earlier, and it was about how Andy said
you want a first baseman, don't you? You want a first baseman.
AAA.
We'll talk later about that.
Okay.
Let Jim talk.
Yeah,
So-
Jim, please.
I always thought it was interesting. Alex Stumpf wrote an article earlier. It was probably around in May. When the Pirates really probably could have used a catcher. Their option at the time was like the worst hitter of all time. So
But
there
can I
was
ask you guys a question as fans?
yeah.
Oh,
we literally
please.
got what we signed up for.
I didn't sign up for it.
No. And actually, none of us signed up.
He
Yeah,
was
that's the
actually
thing. None
better
of us
he was
signed
actually
up for it.
better defensively this year than he was in the prior.
He was
Defensively, he
worse
was fine.
offensively than he's ever
But
been.
What he
He
was
was-
doing at the plate was just dreadful.
It was horrific.
Riddle me this though. Look at I bet we had the worst offensive catchers, even with Indy coming up in all of baseball. You can even count Henry Davis in there. We still had the worst offensive catchers in all of baseball.
I don't know. Jason DeLay had some pretty decent numbers there for a while.
There's some
So it
bad
was-
offensive.
He's going to be
guys
a
out there,
great
but-
option for us for a long time. He's the new Stallings, and I think he's a better version, to be honest. So
I guess
But
to
to go back
answer
to
that,
the-
in my perspective, though, just add in here. I think to answer that is the fact that it was a good enough signing with him, understanding
wasn't.
understanding the expectations this year.
Should have never
It
happened.
was one of those where it's good enough because Henry's going to come up and he's going to come up. They're going to dominate the catching role, and he's going to take a step back. Right? Those expectations changed after that April. Now this is a winning ball club.
Yep.
Henry Davis is dominating. We need to put the pedal to the floor and be a better team, and they still settled without doing anything. So I think that's really the biggest issue with that. Signing him was okay, whatever. He's going to work well. He's going to do this, but he never did any of that stuff. There was never Andy and Henry up here to learn from him, which is you thought was a big part of that.
And I
He
thought they
was-
were going to do that from April. When they
Right.
signed him, I was like, this is brilliant. Now Indy doesn't have to take that load, but we get his bat.
Correct.
Right? And
So
that's what I
that's
thought was
the
going to
issue.
happen. Yeah. And then it didn't. And it's like they put themselves in a huge hole, especially when Henry wasn't catching, because even if he came up and hit, if he hit exactly like he did in the minor leagues, his defense wasn't ready. You're saying one thing about Indy and you're doing the opposite with Henry. Make it make sense, right? Who was a better hitter the year before? Indy. So if you think about it, but I understand the concept, both sides, but that was hard for me to take, especially knowing what type of human being Indy was. It wasn't like Cruz. Cruz was not ready emotionally to be in the big leagues the year before. Indy was ready to be anywhere that a ball was being played. He could play dodgeball and he was ready because he's a great, great human being, and it wasn't going to be too much for him.
Before we're in June and this guy's hitting 100 and something, just horrific at the plate, and we have to watch him behind the plate every day. You have to understand why we are so frustrated.
And I get it. I get it. Trust me, I definitely get it. And I'll say it till I'm blue in the face. The fact that guys like him, and I like him, I understand his value. He's a backup catcher. When he signed, I jumped out of my seat and said, I need to go catch. This is unbelievable. $5 million.
Yeah.
Right? I mean,
Right.
I was a hit first guy in the big leagues. I was a defensive first guy in the minor leagues, but I was just thinking this is nuts to me.
Do you know how
know.
many catcher's interferences you could have got paid for?
$1 million per.
And hey, I don't know if he'll qualify, but he would have been really close to winning the Gold Glove in the National League.
But they won a lot more games when he wasn't on the team anymore.
Yeah, we
I
were
know
better.
correlation does not equal.
But we were
causation.
also a better team all the way around.
Were they though? Like they went 28-8 in April.
But keep
Yes,
in
they
mind,
were
Hedges was on the IL during a lot of that.
Well,
And I'll say this, like delay in spring training showed how good he was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we're all on the same page.
Yeah.
I think delay is about the optimal backup catcher you can ask for.
He's
Yep.
going to be a hybrid, right? So he's going to be playing in the 7th inning. He's going to be doing some different things because I really want to see Henry catch.
So let's get to that because you talked about
Jimothy.
Endy, and I love the Real Muto comp too in that sense. Like, I'm not saying he's going to be JT Real Muto, but just the athleticism and stuff like that. And obviously, Real Muto played second base also. But like, I think to get that part of Endy, what you're saying is you have to have Henry Davis as a catcher. Like that's why that tandem is so valuable. Endy can play multiple positions and be your pseudo backup catcher. Or like we talked about, your backup catcher could eventually be like a 4-WAR player, and your starting catcher is a 4-WAR player. You know,
It could be a better version of Atlanta. Think about that.
Right.
Because they're both more
But-
athletic than both those guys.
But that would mean Henry Davis has to catch. What's the deal? I don't
don't know.
understand why he wasn't catching, and especially when Charrington came out and said, like, once this trade happens, it's not like an every day, but Henry Davis will catch. And he never did, not once the rest of the year outside that, like that one inning or whatever, you know. But now we go in this offseason and it's told, okay, he's gonna be a catcher, so he'll work on that. I don't know. You said you don't know, but if you can't
like, what's
expand,
happening?
No. I can expand on
Yeah.
the thing is like he's light years behind now. If what they said about Indy has any relevance, which in my opinion, it's always an ebb and flow. If he comes into spring training and he rakes, he's going to be the backup catcher. He's going to play right field. He's going to DH. He may even play some first base. But I think the more versatility he has, the better for the team because you need to rotate those guys out when they're not playing well. Right. I think Triolo needs to be in there as often as possible, moving around, giving guys opportunities, and he will probably win a Gold Glove with Key Bryant next year as a utility guy. I didn't know there was a utility Gold Glove, believe it or not. Never really paid attention to those awards except the main winners, but he will win a utility Gold Glove. And I think if he was on a different team, he would fight Key Bryant to be the best third baseman in all baseball. But I think he'd be a shortstop for another team or a second baseman. So I think our team is better with the versatility because of how young we are and how athletic we are. You know, you think about Peguero, his ability to move around, Bay's ability to move around. You don't need all of them. You need to get rid of some of them. But when you have catchers that can move around and can hit, you're talking about two guys that could possibly hit 20 homers, hit 270, 280. They both have a knack to walk. Even if Henry's okay behind the plate, that's a huge value. Let him catch Sunday. Someone's easy to figure out. Like he's a really smart dude. I just think he's stubborn, and I hope and pray I can get a hold of him. I would love to mentor him, tell him the God honest truth, and help him see that he could be as good as he wants to be because that's how stubborn he is. He's really smart when it comes to baseball, almost too smart. You know, I think next year he's going to go off hitting wise if he really does his research. So, meaning back off the plate.
I know some stubborn Louisville grads. I understand.
Who's that?
That guy.
Yep. Yep. And you'll like this, Jim. I'm cool with trading Bay. I know we got in a
We
deep
did get
discussion.
a little tiffy.
And I did see him grow up this year. I did see both sides of him. In spring, I saw some things I really didn't like. I probably talked to you guys about it. I didn't even think he deserved to make the team. He made a huge push and changed a lot of things at the very end. But if he's not our center fielder and consistently, I don't see how he plays over Sawinski. But that's a problem. He's a problem right now. I don't know where to play him.
I think the problem with the Pirates right now is they've got too many guys that don't really have like a permanent spot, right? Like you can only have like utility players are great, but you can't have too many of them. Like, you need to have a couple.
And you have to be good at it.
Yeah,
like,
and you've got to be good at it. So
yeah, like
the
Jay
thing
Hay
with
was really good at it. Triolo is a phenomenal,
very good at
phenomenal.
it.
Yeah, like he could change your team. He would play on any team in the big leagues as a utility guy right now.
I honestly think that looking back at this year, we talked about it a lot of the second base battle we saw throughout the year. Looking back at it, I think Triolo is your leader going into next year at second base, at least.
As with the current guys, like no one has performed well enough to grab that position. Triolo's played better than anybody.
I'm not putting
who's
anything
capable of
past
playing second
Piguero.
base.
That dude's got stupid talent.
Oh,
Piguero,
Absolutely.
they ruined Castro, or he ruined himself, I should say. But the talent level with Piguero is off the charts. Like he's got. It's late blooming for his. I mean, I know he's 21, but like he reminds me a lot of some. I'm not going to say any of the names, but like some big time players. Big time players.
He's very
Henry
talented.
Ramirez.
I love it.
Yeah.
He really
He's
is
got-
very
he
talented.
does
Did you
have
say
all the
Hanley?
tools.
Yeah, like he's got that type of pop.
Mhm.
It's just the trust.
That's sexy.
yeah.
I don't disagree.
Well,
It's
think about the step forward this year. I mean, he was a 20 home run guy if he plays every day in the big leagues. Period.
No, it's true. It never crossed my mind or anything like that. And I loved Hanley growing up. I loved Hanley.
And I think he's going to come in with swagger. And I think
Well,
he's
that's
going to
for
win the
sure.
second base job. I think Triolo's going to float. And I think you need him to, because that's the value. His value is so
agree.
big there. And
I agree.
I do agree with that.
I think that's where he's best suited.
and it
The
helps
team's
Connor
in a better
Jones so
spot
much.
if he can become the utility guy and not be the everyday second baseman.
Yeah. And it
And I-
helps Connor Joe so much.
I think the part that annoyed me about the way they used Triolo is that he didn't get the run at shortstop. Because I think that he needs to be the backup shortstop going into next year.
Yeah. He's a better version of Jordy Mercer.
Like,
Way better.
When O'Neal Cruz needs a day off, Jared Triolo
Mhm.
has to be there. When Cabrian Hayes needs a day off, Triolo obviously has to be there.
Yeah, I mean, you could technically carry Alika Williams and just not give him a bats. He's just a defensive guru like James McDonald was in 13 for us.
But I'd rather just have Triolo to do it.
I agree. It makes your team better and guys, get more consistent at bats and you're
And-
going to
and-
carry 3 catchers.
Hey,
I don't love that.
Hey, why? You have to have it.
Well, it depends. Are we talking 3 catchers in Andy, Henry, and Delay?
delay. Yes.
Okay. All right. Okay. I'm good with that.
Yep.
I thought we meant bring in another one because I'm already giving up on Henry being a catcher,
No.
which we ignored.
No.
but- Yeah, I'm not gonna. I think the Pirates have given up on it, no matter what they say. I think they've given up on it, so I've kind of given up on it.
It doesn't matter if the Pirates gave up on it. It's if Henry gave up on it. Because one way or another, if that kid hasn't given up on it, here, I'll tell you right now, Henry Davis is either going to be very, very good or a wash. That's his personality. And I'm telling you right now, if you put that kid behind the plate and let him go, he'll figure it out. It's a period for me. That's his personality. And I think with Skeens being around, he'll take off.
So what I was going to say earlier about Henry is ignoring the catcher thing, which I obviously already said that I've kind of given up on, but that's also contingent.
Henry Davis is a bust.
Bucko Mike.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Also contingent on whether they're going to have robo umps within the next year or two. Because I think,
no.
well, if they did have them, put them on play. My thought was
They are
I am-
coming, though.
They're going to do this. And it's because of Vegas.
Mhm.
There's value there.
But my
I was
thought
mad
is-
I was so mad the other day when my over 1.5 walks didn't hit because of a missed ball 4.
They
But
should have done it in the playoffs. I really wanted them to do this in the playoffs. I thought it'd be a great time to introduce it.
Yeah, go ahead.
Could you imagine in Philadelphia,
Oh,
jeez.
God.
a challenge? They would go nuts. Go ahead. Sorry, I
No,
interrupted
you're
you.
fine. But my thought was we watched him in right field. Obviously, we all saw it. It wasn't good. I think we all do believe that he has a work ethic. He will hopefully figure it out there. But I would also probably only give him a limited amount of time out there and just say, screw it. Let's put him at first base and let him focus on hitting and just let him slug. I know it's wasting his arm. I get it. But at some point, I just want to watch it get hit.
But
And
what
I
is
want to
slug?
focus on one thing. I
But what
want to
is-
watch him just actually hit because he did not hit well.
Right. Is he Kyle Schwarber, though? He
Maybe.
didn't put up those numbers in
Maybe.
college.
Maybe.
He's never put those numbers up in the minor leagues. And he plays at PNC.
I mean, he put up some pretty good numbers in the minor leagues.
Yeah, he did, but not Kyle Schwarber numbers.
Put up some pretty damn good numbers.
Schwarber hit almost 50 homers again. 800 OPS.
Did he do it in the minors?
He didn't stay there very long.
Neither did Henry Davis.
Yeah,
I remember Kyle Schwarber hitting a ball at Louisville about 600 feet.
Jim, nobody cares.
I just think at some
He
point,
has to go back to Louisville.
if he's
with
going
you.
to struggle
I'm
in
just
right
saying.
field again, I think you have to maybe change directions. Let him just focus on the bat.
He'll
Because
take a
that's
step
what value
forward.
is.
He'll
I
take a
do.
step
I
forward.
think he will too as well. I'm just thinking Plan B here.
Yep. And don't write off Kutch playing some right field.
I'm just hoping he comes back.
He's coming back.
I'm just hoping he comes back.
I'm not gonna. I already got in trouble once for saying I guarantee you, but I'll guarantee you I'll get in trouble again.
Also, shout out Geddes. Since he gave us $1.99, I will go shut my door. So
Tyler needs to get new headphones too.
But
Wow.
think about that versatility.
By the way,
guys.
yeah, just to kind of back you up, I looked them up. Yeah, Schwarber was a beast in the minors. I mean, every single stop he had over 1,000 OPS.
Henry Davis was pretty good in the minors.
I'm not saying he
I'm
wasn't.
not disagreeing. That was mainly this year.
He was hurt every year.
I get it. But Schwarber, like, we're talking 1,061, 1,050, 1,075, 1,022, 1,036, 1,017. And then he goes to the majors.
That was also a weird
And
period. Of the
he was
Cubs for
also
everybody.
catching and learning new positions.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm
The
just saying.
Cubs were
I
in
mean,
a weird spot there where every single player they had in the minors just raked.
Oh, it was dumb. It was absolutely dumb. They
Every
had
one
yeah,
of them.
Yeah, even guys you didn't know.
Like Alcantara was just murdering baseballs.
I know. I had to play against them. It was a joke.
And then they got to the majors and most of them stunk.
yeah.
Yeah, and then they won the World Series. No big deal.
Yeah,
Right.
but none of those guys really.
Only
Yeah,
because
I-
that stupid wild card theory that you want to keep using.
Yeah, exactly.
Dummy.
Yeah, so there's a lot of interesting
The Pirates
things.
could end of that. There's a 3-game series.
You've never maybe wanted to like side with DiNardo more.
Who, me?
Yeah, that's not good
Yeah.
for it.
What do you mean?
Now I have to side with DiNardo where you're getting rid or going back to the 1-game wild card being good. I don't like that.
Yeah, and I think Henry Davis will be a better defender than Schwarber in every single way, even behind the plate. So
Well,
his
I
value
would
will be
hope
enhanced.
so.
I agree with that.
Schwarber shredded
Yeah.
his knee.
If
Still
if,
raked.
if Henry Davis became Kyle Schwarber, I would be very happy.
I'd be thrilled.
I
Yeah.
would too. I would
Yeah.
too. But I don't know if his like the personality to DH like Schwarber, he doesn't have that same personality. Like
Yeah, he wants to be involved.
Yeah, he is thinking, he's managing the game in his head no matter what. So like when he gets out, he's going back, watching the iPad, analyzing, thinking about what's coming up, and he'll probably change that thought process 4 or 5 times before he even walks to the plate. And he is that smart, and I think he will. I think we saw it the last couple weeks. You know, he's going to get his approach, and he's not going to miss his pitches consistently. He's going to make some runs. But like when he does have some downspouts, or when, you know, we face some guys that he's not willing to get off the plate against, you know, you can kind of rest him, you know, put him somewhere where, you know, maybe he's safe for a day or two, you know, because he's going to have a hard time against sinker ball guys. If he doesn't get off the plate and learn how to, you know, block that sinker off, he's going to get eaten alive, or he's got to cheat, which he already does. So
Yeah, he definitely cheats. He's trying to
DiNardo, I
yank.
feel like you had some questions about a hitting coach you wanted to mention that might segue into that.
let's go.
I do want to talk. I think we have some differing opinions on Andy Haines. And I think that, first off, let's just put this out there. I think when you're talking about Pittsburgh sports and coaches, there's 2 guys you don't want to mention, and it's Matt Canada and Andy Haines. And right now, Matt Canada is dominating that sphere. But like realistically, they're both offense, right? You blame the offense on Andy Haines, the approach and such. I've certainly said my piece. We all have said our piece on here. I think the writing's on the wall that he is returning. He is definitely going to be the coach next year. let's just go. What's your take on Andy Haines? Because I'm pretty sure everyone listening right now has a very negative input on him.
Easiest thing to say is who replaces him, and how do you build trust in a year?
Well,
Because
Anybody-
we've fired the last 3. We've had 3 in the last 6 years since I've been here.
so that's kind of a problem, though, too, right?
Branson was loved by the players. Eckstein was loved by the players. We had David Eckstein too because of Eckstein. We lost both those guys. And then now we have Andy Haines, and he's at the 2-year mark, just like those guys. And he didn't have his COVID year. He wasn't allowed to travel in 2021. The only person he hit with was Brian Reynolds, and Brian Reynolds had his second best year to his All-Star year. And arguably, I think it was a better year, especially since he played hurt with an oblique and nobody knew. A lot of these guys were playing hurt and you didn't know too. And I think Andy Haines is, I'm going to say this, he's not a hitting coach. He's become a hitting coach because that's what got him to the big leagues. He is going to manage. He's going to win a World Series at some point. He's the top 5 smartest baseball mind I know. And if we had it set up right, maybe Don Kelly is a hitting coach. Andy Haines is the bench coach. That's no knock to Donnie Kelly, but that's how smart Andy Haines is. If that kind of brings any, like Mike Ribello is also one of those guys that's incredibly smart, but it goes back to the same thing when Hurdle used to walk in the cage. You have Derek Sheldon, who was a hitting coach too. You have a lot of guys that have backgrounds with that hitting, and it's such a collective group. Andy Haines pushes back. Most of those guys don't. Andy Haines pushes back to Sherrington. He pushes back to Bob Nutting because he has nothing to lose because he's not supposed to be here. And that's why I like Andy Haines. I love him as a human being and as a person, and I know the players respect him. And he actually asked for their opinion. I sat in a couple of hitters meetings, and it's different because he says, Kutch, Reynolds, Sawinski, Peguero, what do you got? You don't hear that. It's not like that in the pitching meeting. And that's the difference. And I think the biggest problem is the trust factor. Like, you have to gain the trust, and it takes time. It took a long time for some of those guys to trust. Sawinski and Triolo trusted immediately. It took Sawinski a long time. But Triolo, his entire realm came from Andy Haines when he got to the big leagues. He stood him up, did everything. And I watched it happen in real time. I watched it happen in the cage. Andy Haines is very, very good. I think every hitting coach in the big leagues is going to get fired within 2 to 3 years. I mean, Kevin Seitzer has been fired 5,000 times. He just happens to be in Atlanta. Right? Right? It's not hard to coach guys that are phenomenal. It's really hard to coach guys that spend half the year in the minor leagues and then try to gain their trust in the big leagues when they're fighting for their lives. And that's what's hard to explain to fans, because it's not the fact that they get to the big leagues and struggle. It's the fact that, like, nobody thinks about the analytical department. Nobody thinks about the game plan guy. Nobody thinks about all the extra work they did all year long defensively that was crushing these guys, especially Henry Davis. They were getting destroyed in every way, but Andy Haines was getting dominated. You know what I mean? Nobody went after Oscar when they were really struggling. Nobody went after Message when they struggled in the bullpen.
We did.
I'm saying the media outside of you guys.
Yeah,
And
gotcha.
and rightfully so. But I think the biggest thing, and I wish this would happen in every way, I wish everybody get more transparency. Andy would give it to you. A lot of guys wouldn't. Andy will shoot you straight. Most of the league won't. The best guys do, and he would. You just got to go ask him. And a lot of the things that got released, even some of the stuff Mackey said, was not real, was not right, was not even close. And that's not from him. And like the whole Nuttling thing was not correct.
It's what I was going to ask you of. What do you make of that?
If Nuttling was as good as he was, he's been in this organization for a long time. He does have a relationship with Key Bryan. And Andy Haines has no ego. Like, he would have let him hit with him, but he wasn't here hitting with Key Bryan. Right? The biggest problem with Key Bryan, in my opinion, was he didn't leave his old school approach. He had the worst approach angle and the worst path in all of baseball this year. Do you know who showed him the difference? Andy Haines, not Nuttling. And it was Key Bryan. It was Key Bryan's decision. That's what everybody, I think, fans don't understand, is it's the player's ultimate decision. Like, when Sawinski finally bought in to hit the ball to the right side, his power went down in September, but he got 28 hits to opposite field. That changed who he was, but he had to be convinced to do that. because he thought he was a one-trick pony, and he's not. Dude can fly. He has really good barrel control when he leans out, and then he's got to take his chances. He may not hit 40 homers, but he'll hit 25. He'll hit 30, play great defense, and maybe hit 260 or 250 instead of 198, and maybe be close to Kyle Schwarber floating at that 800 OPS. But like, they had to get him to understand inside to even touch outside, and then he forgot what outside was. And it was cool to see that because I got to watch that from day one. If that makes sense.
A lot was made, and this is more just fan speculation again. The Pirates were a very, very patient team. I think they led the league in strikeouts looking. If a pitch wasn't in that strike zone, and they were very good at knowing what was a strike and what wasn't, but it's just those borderline pitches. They got called strikes a lot, and they left. They didn't swing at them, right? And that's what got them in trouble a lot of times. Was that an Andy Haines thing? Is that an organizational philosophy? Because we're also seeing the Pirates minor leaguers walk more than we've ever seen before. So is this is this an organizational thing, like, or is this just Andy Haines telling hitters, wait for your pitch, don't swing at anything that's not your pitch type deal?
That's analytics. There's value to that. So the Houston Astros are the best. So they make the best swing decisions, but they don't miss their pitches. And they also adapt to the actual day, which a lot of these young guys couldn't do. Right? Like Connor Joe took a huge step forward, and I think you're going to see him take off next year and be more consistent because he made such a big stride from the year before, especially hitting higher velocity. He did take a lot. Golly, he took so many pitches, but at the end of the year, he started to expand. He started to notice, hey, I got to go out and get this pitch. I got to do some things different. And he pulled the ball as good as I could have ever imagined. I couldn't believe how well he pulled the baseball. And I think he's going to get back to being able to, play pepper in the gap. I would have thought he would have been 800 OPS if he would have gotten hot a little bit sooner at the end of the year. But he's going to be a guy that's going to be a staple in our lineup because of what he was able to do this year. I think he got overexposed. But a lot of these guys, it comes from multiple directions. Like when we had the biggest problems on any team I played with, it was because too many voices were coming in, and it was voices that were trying to make a name for themselves more than actually trying to win, if that makes any sense.
I guess my question, do you think the Pirates have too many voices trying to make their name right now?
I don't think they have enough big league voices.
Okay.
Like I would love to see an AJ Burnett. I'd love to see more voices like me, Neil Walker, Matt Capps, different guys to push back. Maybe not in the clubhouse, but like there's no reason I can't be mentoring Henry Davis. There's no reason I can't be, talking to Radley about game planning when I've been asked to do that job for other teams. It's just, we don't use, I think, the value that's around us consistently. So, and that helps with the yes men mentality, because we have a lot of young people.
Right.
Oscar's a new pitching coach. He's one of the best developers in the game. That's why we got him, but he's had to maybe figure it out in the big leagues as a big league pitching coach. Like he doesn't have the Ray Searage effect, but could he map and design and tell you biomechanics? Absolutely. He's a wizard at it. So it's there's just a balance, and they're trying to all figure it out. And I think giving people time and betting on the right people, even if they do struggle, is always good. I always use Mitch Keller as the best example because dude was awful for 3 years.
I don't want to get you in trouble, but do you think too much comes from the top down rather than maybe delegating with this organization right now?
I think they do a pretty good job. I think they could be more transparent.
Okay.
Like if you saw the same numbers with Andy Haines and the improvement and what they were looking for in their projections, the fans wouldn't say anything.
But when they give us their projections of we should be a fourth place team, we all lose our minds.
Well, exactly. And that's what they don't get. They don't get the fan base. And I think if you teach kids how to win, they win. I mean, that's a period. I mean, you have to teach these guys how to compete and how to win, and they're not learning that in the minor leagues. And that's really everywhere. So the best talent usually wins. But when the playoffs come around, we see what's different.
I wanted to go back a little bit with like Andy Haines stuff because you talk about Oscar Marin, and I think like the comparison here is similar in the sense that I was out on Oscar Marin. I mean, I absolutely, you could say I trashed him. Like he needs to go. And then the Mitch Keller effect took place. Like right about that time, you saw some other guys maybe buying into things that pitching a little bit better. I was like, okay, you know what? I'll take a step back. Let's see what Oscar Marin can do, right? And I'm not sure if I'm like on the boat of keeping him or firing him. I'm kind of like whatever happens with him, whatever, right? Andy Haines, same thing. Needs to go. But like to your point, you know, I think my biggest thing and gripe was when you're in the middle of July, you're looking at this team and you're saying Brian Reynolds is regressing. Brian Hayes is regressing. Like Jack Swinski is regressing. You know, these guys aren't getting better. They're not even staying the same. Rookies struggle. So I'm not going to put a whole lot on the rookies, right? But every rookie outside like Triolo was bad. Like you can't even say like okay for rookie. They were just bad. So like
until they were good,
like
right at the end. I mean, they were way better.
Triolo was.
Were they though? Well, I said Triolo was good, but outside of
Triolo hit better in the big leagues than the minor leagues. Indy, I would say, did what a normal rookie would do. Henry Davis battled a hand more than you guys realize.
Yeah. No, I get that.
And
that's like individually you can look, but still like collective as a whole, like outside of Triolo, no one really said, okay, you didn't have that cruise moment. You didn't have the cruise. You know, cruise is going to take some time, but you didn't have that September 1st cruise caught on in September, looked like a baseball player. You know, like Andy didn't really have that either. Like the Miami, the very last 3 games of the season, he kind of did, and he ran out of games, I guess you could say. But I guess what it said, right, is like that's in July. I'm looking like that's why I'm out on Haynes, right? But much like how Osprey kind of changed my stance, maybe I'm giving too much to him as well. But again, like you talk about the Nunley situation, everyone thought Nunley changed Brian Hayes. Now it's kind of coming out that that probably wasn't the case, right? So maybe Brian Hayes is attached to Haynes. You talk about Jack Swinski. To me, Jack Swinski's the biggest thing too. Like Reynolds came back playing better, right? But like the way Jack Swinski looked in September was that different player. So I guess that's coming out now here too to kind of get back to this. Like I know you said he's not a hitting coach. He's more like small.
No, he's a great. I'll say
MLB.
this: he's a great hitting coach. There's a lot of people that sought out. Like people say the things about Yelich. It's actually the opposite. Him and Yelich are really close.
Okay.
But like
that's encouraging because I think that's the stuff that people don't know. Like they recognize and see, like when Andy Haines was there, that was Yelich's worst year. So that's the correlation.
Andy was the fall guy there. Him and Counsell were really close. Him and Madden were really close. So the hitting coach is always the fall guy, right?
Right.
It's easy. A lot of times it's the firing and the strength coach, right? You know, if anybody would get fired, I would say that
Billy Davis.
Yeah, exactly. But not Roth because he's the best on the planet. But like our injuries, top to bottom, was ridiculous. Last time we had that, they fired guys, and it's out of their control. But you know, if you want to look at a big blame, that was a huge problem. So I
guess like we're on pivot this though too is maybe Andy Haines isn't the devil, right? As the perception around Pittsburgh. So
I'm gonna get you guys to think really
seeing
different. I'm going to get you guys to think so different. And I did this to Mackie. We didn't end up putting it on the podcast, but I want you guys to think about this. You are one of those rookies. Okay. You can say any of them you want. And I think Peguero, Castro are great examples. They both ran and looked like, man, these guys are going to be really, really good. Then what happened? They sat. Remember? They both sat in huge chunks, just like Meadows did after he came up.
Yep.
Right. And whatever the case is, that has to be taken into effect that's psychological factor that those guys aren't established. Like sign those guys, sign Peguero and watch him hit 30 homers next year. Right. Sign Sawinski to a 5-year deal. Dude will be an all-star because the anxiety will go away. The I belong will go away. When he started hitting against lefties, when they gave him those at bats, that's when he took off. because they saw that he believed in him, and that's what he was working on to try to stay on that pitch. And that's the biggest thing. Like, that's why Indy took a huge step back, because he was so concerned about pleasing them behind the plate. Hitting really digressed, and he got in bad movement patterns. And at the very end, he finally made the adjustment that I watched all the hitting coaches working with him day in, day out to try to stay in that back leg so he wouldn't plane up and miss balls. That's why he was popping balls up, but he was hitting them 94 miles an hour straight in the air. I mean, you see the ability, you see the talent, but I think there has a lot to be said that, like, these dudes have so much more of a psychological issue than they do actual physical issue, an approach issue, because some of them don't even know who they are. Like, Peguero's all of a sudden hitting homers this year. He hasn't really hit a bunch of homers in the minor leagues. He came into that this year, right? Henry Davis thinks he has to go all in and hit homers. And I think they're trying to figure out who they are at the same time, trying to listen to Andy Haines saying, if you did this, this, and this, you're going to be this type of player. But they have to trust that. And that's what I would say. Nobody helped Ke'Bryan Hayes but Ke'Bryan Hayes. Nobody helped Brian Reynolds but Brian Reynolds. Nobody helped DeLay but DeLay. Like, DeLay took the biggest step forward. Guess who he hit with all offseason? Andy Haines. Right? Like, you can look at it however you want, but, like, I had my best hitting coach you guys have never heard of because he wasn't a big league coach. He was in the cage every single day, and he watched my swing diligently. He gave me ideas and thoughts that were outside the box because he had nothing to lose. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, me and Kutch talked about hitting probably 3 days a week. And we talked about everybody's swings. And he was helping these guys. And that's when it takes off. And those guys start helping each other. And that's why I like Andy Haines. That's why I like Derek Shelton. Those guys will back off at the right time. And if they do, we're going to take off. Mike Rebello, he's going to back off at the right time. Our first base coach, I can't think of his name off the top of my head. Brock. He's going to back off. Yeah. You know, I don't know Don Kelly well enough, but in a coaching aspect, but that's when teams take off. That's what the Atlanta Braves do.
Fort, can I be honest with you? And I trust everything you're saying here. But whoever is keeping these guys from doing so and making them doubt themselves, there has to be a change made.
It's them. That's the game. I mean, you're chasing your dream, right?
But at some point, there is a reason that the Pirates are in this rut. And
but like, if you hit 2 homers, like I remember this in my case, like for 7 weeks, if you go back to 2013, Russell Martin couldn't hit water if he fell out of a boat. And I'm hitting 310, 330, and we're winning every game I play. At some point, I'm a human being. I'm going to put more pressure on myself. I hit 2 homers. I don't play for 5 days, even with guys I match up well against and knowing that. And it got so bad when Barajas was there, they actually got the MLB PA involved. I shouldn't be dealing with that as a second-year player. And that's what fans don't get, is like, sometimes you're taking the heat that you don't deserve and you don't know how to handle it. And the coaches aren't going to help you. They want to run away from it because they have no answer for you. That's why Henry Davis didn't catch, because it became a taboo. It got so far out of the realm that they didn't know what to do. So they just kind of let it be and hope people forget.
I get that, but at some point, the people making that decision, it's not working. And I know
that's why you empower guys. Yep, that's why you always bet on the guys. I'll say it. Mm-hmm. That's how you win for a long time. You bet on the right people. I mean, look at New England Patriots. One dude left and they suck.
Thankfully.
But you see what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
I mean, you could say that about the Steelers. The Steelers haven't been the same since Ben left. But you have to look at it and say, who are the guys I'm going to bet on and why? How do they glue that team together? And it really opened my eyes when I went to the USA event and how they picked the team. They never picked the best players. The best catcher in the country didn't even make it to the second round. Because he would have, I brought it up, and so did the other catching guy, said he'll lose the gold medal for us because he doesn't care about anything but himself. And his insecurities are going to absolutely dominate you if he doesn't hit because he doesn't care.
At some point, does the front office's insecurities override all that? Because
I think if you want to start firing people, that's where you start. every single time you start at the top.
All right, we're on the same page.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I think that's not the scouting department or whatever, but I think they're doing things differently. Bob and Travis are in meetings. They're trying to learn everything that's going on. And I think that's new for them. Owners don't do that. They put a lot of trust, and Bob runs a great business, but I think he's trying to be a baseball dude. He's trying to understand it to an extent that he can understand it to help put his business feng shui behind it. That's why you're going to see more money be spent over the next couple of years than we've ever seen before. They're also going to make more money than they've made in a long time. A lot more. So it could be a big run.
I'll believe it when I see it. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that courtyard they're doing, the projections are huge. And that's
that does look
round.
pretty neat. That does look pretty neat. I walked by there the other day.
Yeah, so you should be excited. You pushed all the buttons today, but you guys should be excited. There are some concerns, but you guys should be excited. I love the fact that they didn't let go of anybody. Because like where do you go from there? I wish they would hire someone else. Like I would love to see AJ Burnett walk in the clubhouse and be an advisor. I'd love to see a bunch of the old dudes come back and be a part of that.
I would take Wes Johnson tomorrow. So, give him a blank check. The LSU pitching coach that was with the Twins, give him a blank check.
How do you do with the Twins?
Very well.
Did he?
Yeah. And they went to
sure?
LSU. Yeah.
Positive?
Yeah.
He had nothing to do with Skeens.
He did pretty well there.
Yeah, but it wasn't. Skeens has had the same pitching coach since he was 18. He's in Knoxville.
Yeah, but he did pretty well with Twins. Then he was at LSU. They pitched pretty well. I would take him.
Yeah,
just to do whatever.
I'm with you. I love the balance. Like hire him, and then
I will take as many smart minds as humanly possible.
Yeah, give me Vic Black.
That's a good name though.
Well, because he's been through the ringer.
Yeah.
Dude had all the talent in the world. He's in a great spot. He's in a good job. But like that's a coach. Like Sal Fasano is a great example of an amazing coach because he had to fight his life to get to the big leagues, and everybody respects him. And
Vic's a drive line right now.
Huh?
Is Vic a drive line right now?
No, he's with the Pirates. He's he is the rehab coordinator.
Got it.
So he's redesigned the complete rehab for the Pirates when it comes to Tommy John. Because
Moskos was a drive line.
Great, yes. Yeah. But he humbled himself, went there, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think outsourcing, like what we're doing with Shred, I love.
Yeah.
Like I think outsourcing those guys is really smart. But now they're growing so big, they're going to have the drive line factor where you got to be careful, right? Because what happened to JT Brubaker? He went there, he got hurt because there's so much going on. You can't teach it all to these guys fast enough.
Mm-hmm. I think that's what I liked about Eckstein so much is that, and maybe I'm just a simpleton, that the Josh Bell stuff came out where he was going to elsewhere, working with private hitting coaches, and Eckstein was maybe the first Pirates hitting coach, and you could speak more to it, where he allowed you to go outside the organization and really encouraged it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Eckstein's another guy. If I had to start a staff, 2 calls I would make would be to Andy Haines and David Eckstein.
I always liked Eckstein.
But I wouldn't even mind having Eckstein as a bullpen coach or a pitching coach or a bench coach. Like,
what if you just hired us 3?
Yeah. I mean,
what if the whole Eckstein family? Yeah.
but that's the thing is like, that's what you have to kind of understand is like some of these guys are out of place. Like Don Kelly's an infield guy and he's a bench coach, but like he's unorthodox when it comes to a bench coach. Like you would think he'd be a first base coach or a third base coach. And Rubello, with his track record, how he's done everything makes more sense because he's seen more games as a, coach, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I think Don Kelly's done well, but that's kind of the way you look at it. And I love older, like Jeff Bannister in with the Diamondbacks is brilliant. Walt Weiss in Atlanta is brilliant. There's a lot of pedigree there. Oh, Eckstein could fight, dude. He's shredded still. He's got 6-pack.
That's what we need. We need some good fighting coaches.
Yeah. And what about Princey? Remember that picture?
Yeah.
Tom Prince.
Oh yeah.
I don't remember that one.
No.
You got to go. It's the one that went viral. Go look at it. Just type in that Cincinnati Pirates brawl.
Yeah.
And you'll see Tom.
Oh,
Prince.
you know what he's talking about.
Is it the one with Puig, where Puig's like taking on the entire team? Yeah. We had some good brawls with the Reds. The one where Puig was fighting after he was traded, that was probably my favorite.
That was epic.
That
came
was one
out
of my
of
favorites too.
He was a guardian.
Yeah. So look, before we get off here, I don't know how long you guys want to go, but what about free agency? I see us doing some things. It seems like we're going to be active in the international space. But what would you guys like to see?
I think the one area that's good, and I don't know if I would even really address it at all, is the bullpen. I think there's enough depth there and enough arms that like maybe you go after and find like one guy, but I don't think there's a whole lot you need to do with the bullpen.
I completely agree. That stuff out there, man.
Yeah.
Even the guys that got hit. Oof.
I would like to see them pick up two starting pitchers and different ones. I want to see a lefty and I want to see a righty.
Do you have an example?
Yeah. So Jordan Montgomery was my first pick. I think Jordan Montgomery is now out of the Pirates' price range based on the last couple of weeks.
Yeah.
But I think I think you could sign somebody to like a 1-year deal. Maybe like a Seth Lugo type kind of is someone I'm thinking of.
That's a good pick.
Montgomery obviously would have been an ideal situation. I think maybe you back off if you can get him, cool, but maybe you're backing off him. I wouldn't mind seeing a multi-year deal for like a good established starting pitcher. And maybe that's Eduardo Rodriguez now. I know he wants to opt out of his deal. He wants to head east. I would imagine he's going to have some suitors too, but like maybe I think at some point you're going to have to invest in an arm. And
that's a really good call. That's a really good call because the interview he had when he declined the trades, he didn't want to go to a big market.
Yeah.
So that's a really good call.
Like I think if you went out there and like just and those are two just names off the top of my head: Seth Lugo, Eduardo Rodriguez. Boom, there you go. Let those two get a spot. You got Oviedo, you got Keller, and then you let everyone else fight for the 5th spot. And like you mentioned, you're going to need some starting pitching depth anyways. So like they're all going to end up contributing at some point. I wouldn't mind seeing like a legit defensive centered center fielder. I like Sawinski out there, but I think you could be better. So like give me Kevin Kiermaier. Like give me Kevin Kiermaier and give him 300, 400 at bats. I don't know. But that there's just someone like that.
Is he a free agent?
Yeah, he's a free agent. And then if you want to go right-handed, you can Harrison Bader's out there. Michael A. Taylor is a free agent. So like someone in that mold I wouldn't mind seeing. And then a first baseman. I think we need a first baseman. And maybe it's Carlos Santana again because the crop isn't all that great. But I think you need somebody established who can play that position. I don't really trust just sticking someone there. I don't want to play Connor Joe every day. I want Connor Joe on the team, but I don't want Connor Joe getting 550 plate appearances. So I think that's who I would do. That's who I would address.
Kiermaier. I didn't think about Kiermaier.
Pass.
Kiermaier makes Henry Davis 10 times better.
That's a good point. That's a good point in itself.
Corey Dickerson was the worst
effect.
outfielder I've ever seen, and then he was a Gold Glover the year after Kiermaier.
That's fair.
That is true.
That's why I always say you bet on the guy. I would have bet on Corey Dickerson through and through. I would have gone to the bunker with him in a heartbeat. He could hit, but I knew if someone gave him a chance, and they finally did with the Pirates, they didn't do it in Tampa. I saw him work in Tampa with Kiermaier every day because I was out there with him because I was learning how to play left field. And Kiermaier is special when it comes to coaching and thinking outside the box and being athletic. So yeah, he'd be a huge benefit, and he'd also give some well-needed leadership that would give Kutch a break because that's Kiermaier's personality. So
Yeah,
I like
so I
that
think-
signing better than anybody. I love Santana, but I don't want him back.
Really?
I'm with
Yep.
you on that.
We don't have enough at bats.
No, he'd have to play DH too much. And I think that DH role just has to be used more, as we've
Yeah.
always said, as a day off. There's too many good young bats in this lineup that need to have days off in the DH role.
Yep. And Kutch needs to play every day game in the outfield. Every day game.
Well, there goes
So
my question.
that's where a lot of this comes into play. Like Andrew McCutchen needs to be able to play in the field once a week.
Yeah. And it's the only reason he didn't is because he couldn't throw.
Okay.
So what do we think about
So-
James Paxton?
Ooh.
Like
Who's he-
a
is he-
lefty.
Where is he now?
Boston.
Is he Red Sox?
Yeah, Boston.
Didn't pitch much this year.
You know where else you need to look?
Good
And
strikeout numbers.
Yeah, I like that a lot. Look in Seattle, because Blake Snell wants to go to Seattle. Blake Snell is going to do everything possible to sign in Seattle, and I think they'll go get him. So they're going to have to get rid of somebody, and they have so much pitching. So a flippity flip,
Trademark.
because they need a second baseman. They need some of those guys that we have because they don't have them. They have a lot of one-trick ponies. They need some more guys that are athletic like Rodriguez, and they're a different team. They're a really different team, real fast.
That might be something we're overlooking, and we're looking at the free agent market. The
That's what I was
trade
gonna bring
market is
up.
probably going to be the best place to get those other arms.
Yep.
I think,
Yep.
yeah, like you're talking about free agency and they need to do stuff, but I think they need to be real active in trades this year. Because like you said, like they have a lot of guys that where they fit. You know, they need
Yeah.
to find out who they want to keep, who they want to move on from, and move them. Like they need to make some action this year to be a good team. And it's not just been spending money; it's also in trading this prospect capital they've acquired and built up all these years.
Right.
And
think
maybe
about-
that's how you find your first baseman. Honestly, like trade is probably the way you find your first
but
baseman.
who would it be? That's the problem. Like I can't see a scenario or anybody that would be worth the money offensively and defensively because of PNC.
So
Like
I'm
you
thinking
don't want to
of,
bring a
like,
right-handed bat into PNC.
You got to kind of look at teams who maybe have like prospects that they just don't want to give a lot of time. Like not prospects, but like younger guys that maybe have taken a little bit of time to adjust to the majors. Like I don't know, like Alex Kirilloff, an example. Like are the Twins just fed up with
and he's
Kirilloff
from Pittsburgh.
always kind of getting hurt and
You're
stuff?
nailing
So-
it, Jim. You're
yeah,
on
so-
fire today. You're on fire.
So like that's maybe you call the Twins and you say, hey, what do we need to do to get Alex Kirilloff? Because the Twins don't really need him. Like they didn't really use him this year. They've got players to play that position. So like that's a name that kind of
That's a good name.
comes up. There's I don't want to go like the Bobby Dalbec route. I don't want somebody like that. Like I want somebody who I think
That's
has
a
had
huge
major
risk,
league
yeah.
success. But yeah, call the Twins, ask them for Alex Kirilloff, see what happens. I would have loved to have seen them talk to the White Sox back when the White Sox traded Jake Berger for nothing. That would have been nice.
But he doesn't fit PNC. Like I guarantee you he drops 10 homers just showing up
Does
to
he
PNC.
fit Marlins Park though.
I mean, he's at the Marlins right now, and no one hits there. Like,
Yeah, but
I don't
it's big to right.
You know
center
who
there.
does hit there?
The Fort.
Oh, he knew.
Yeah, I loved hitting there. It took a couple homers away from me, but right
Yeah.
center is the problem there, not left. They actually brought it
Yeah.
in too. But yeah, I think if you bring in a right-handed bat, it's tough. I do wish they would bring in, and I'm gonna put that in my list of things of wishes if I ever get a meeting with any of these people, is take away the notch. Put in some more seats, bring in the notch.
Take away Northside Notch. I'm for that.
Yep.
I have to change my Twitter.
Yeah,
handle,
let's get rid of Northside Notch altogether.
Yep. Bring in that notch.
Northside Notch sucks.
Terrible.
Terrible account. Yeah, delete it.
Absolutely.
Yep. And because of your Twitter account, of course.
Yeah. Right.
Obviously.
Yeah.
They're good.
We-
Actually, it makes sense. We have to ban Jim from PNC Park, right?
Now you're
And we're
getting it
actually deleting
exactly.
That's-
Yep.
That's how you.
The
That's
Northside
how you take it
Notch.
to the. That's how you take it to the next level.
Yeah, you take him out of the equation. You see that
Forrest
right
is being
there?
real petty right now. I love it.
Yep. Yep.
That's why he wants it gone, because of you, Jim.
Yep.
Yep.
Hey, if it means, I will say, like, the big left field does make it so that you can kind of get away with these left-handed pitchers sometimes and resurrecting their careers. Like, that's where you can get a lot of value in your starting pitchers, is finding a lefty who, you know, maybe didn't succeed somewhere else, but you put them in PNC Park and they have a lot more success.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I
That
wouldn't
part.
mind seeing Rich Hill come back as a bullpen guy.
Is he really going to come back like halfway through
No.
the year, though? No, you don't think that's going to happen?
What do you mean halfway through the year?
He said he'd be willing to sign like after the All-Star break.
Yeah, he was talking about taking like the first half of the season off and then
Little
signing
Roger
with the
Clemens
contender type
style.
of deal.
Yeah, Roger Clemens. There we go.
I mean, I like it. I mean, that's kind of what's Keuchel did that. Keuchel was another
Yeah.
guy that maybe I thought we were going to sign him this year. We were really close,
He's
from my
pretty
understanding.
bad though now.
But he fits at PNC, kind of
Yeah,
like
maybe.
Rich Hill.
He pitched well, and right? Didn't he pitch well in PNC?
Keuchel had that one game against us. He threw like did Keuchel throw like a one hitter?
Yeah. Was that in PNC though?
No, that was
Hell
in
no.
Minnesota.
No, it was
just-
okay.
I
Yeah,
mean,
he
he's just
dominated
not-
the Pirates.
Man, he's just not good enough at this point to wait
But
till after the year's over.
we need somebody that will eat innings
Yeah.
for some of these young guys too. So like if you sign a guy like him, you look at it and say, you know, we see where it goes. Hopefully he pitches well. If he doesn't, like let him eat innings. Let him just eat it. Because you need that.
Fort, I got one more question for you.
Shoot.
We had this discussion before. Would you rather have a Johan Oviedo type that's every now and then it's going to be very, very bad, or a Rich Hill type that's going to go ahead and give you the 5 innings of probably 3-run ball? Which one are you going with over the course of the year?
You pick two fiery personalities, so that's tough. I'm picking Oviedo. I love Rich Hill, but I'm picking Oviedo.
Yeah, we were just talking about, would you rather have that like 5-inning 3-run ball every single night, or the 7-run no-hit ball, and then he's going to come back and give you 2 innings of like 10-run ball?
I mean, think about it. Like you guys are watching the playoffs, I'm sure, right?
Right.
I mean, Wheeler is Oviedo if he figures it out. 98, good movement, life at the top of the zone if he figures this out. I mean, you got to remember this guy wasn't going to make the team out of camp for some unknown
Right.
reason,
Yeah,
and
seriously.
they told him that his fastball would never play in the big leagues. Like that was his thought from St. Louis coming into Pittsburgh, and he tried to throw a sinker, and then he washed it because he realized his 4-seamer is a sinker. And I think he's going to continue to grow. And as he understands the breaking ball to the slider combo, I think he's going to be really, really something to deal with. And he dominated. And he's a guy that if he gets hot at the right time, 4 starts, he may be the ace going into a postseason. He may be the guy you want to start because he's a bulldog.
Dude, there was parts of this year where we were saying, would you rather have Keller or Oviedo? Because Oviedo had a better ERA.
Yeah. Well, and two, like I saw a lot of
Yeah,
growth
finished.
with him, and he's way ahead of Keller. If you think about growth, like he was a reliever last year. He's never really struggled in the big leagues, and he's just getting better. And I think once he understands the swing and miss is real, he'll get himself out of those jams instead of trying to pitch to contact. Because I hate this stuff when they're trying to pitch to contact. Oh, I'm just trying to get the ground ball double play. If we could do that, we'd be the best players on the planet.
Good Lord, we're going to have another episode.
All right, Fort. You brought him up. I'm going to ask you my last question. What are your thoughts on Oviedo being the douchebag next year?
Like the AJ
You hear
Burnett,
those comments?
yeah, I did. But
Okay.
what
What do you make of it? I loved it. When he said that, I loved it.
yeah, he's coming into his own where
Oh, someone asked that question too.
let's go back to what I was saying about Andy Haines and these guys. They have to figure out who they are. And eventually you're going to see guys that get really mad like Oviedo because there's a push to, he wants to compete. He wants to win. And it's his career to where there's development, there's pitch design, there's this, and this. He got to the point, I think this year where he was like, no, I'm pushing back. This is my time. I'm moving forward and you're not going to stop me. And that's when teams take off. And that's what we saw with a bunch of different people. Because, you go back to Key Bryan, he had his dad, he had himself, he had what was successful in the past, but he was an uncharted territory. And then he finally said, I'm better than this, just like Keller did. And that's when things really take off, because guys say, I'm better than this. What is going on? And then they go seek the answers and they get validated by really good coaches. And sometimes it's not with the organization. You know, one of my biggest moments in my career, I went in and I won't tell you who it was, went in and told the hitting coach, I'm never hitting with him again. I proceeded to hit 12 homers that year.
Well, we can look this up for it.
That was 2012.
Find out.
Yeah.
That was 2012. I'm not
and it
even
had
looking it up.
nothing. It had nothing to do with Greg Ritchie, who I really respected.
Ford also hit 233 that year, by the way.
I did, and which is a legendary average nowadays, by the way.
It is.
But he was an organizational guy, and I was changing everything I was to fit into the narrative of the organization. And it was no knock to him. It's his job. He's answering to the people. Like, he was throwing me BP every day and I wanted toss, I wanted tee. They were washing it away. And it's like, how does this make sense? You know, this is what worked. This is what I did with Clint Hurdle in the off season when I hit with him. And then I stopped it. And I hit with Mark Stripmatter every single day, as did Pedro Alvarez. And we all took off because we needed what we needed. And that's when I took a stand. And that's what guys do, because it's your career and it's their career too. And they're trying to do what's best, but they only know what they know. You know, one of my favorite people on the planet was the hitting coach the next year. Man, his name always slips my mind. Shortstop with the Pirates for a long time. Jay Bell. He didn't help me at all, except with life. And when we finally got to that, it was great. We never talked about hitting. We talked about life. We talked about the Bible. Never talked about hitting. And it was great, because that's what we needed.
Mm-hmm.
Chili Davis, I would go to war with him and listen to anything he said. It's just how you respond to people.
To be fair, the Pirates kind of hit like crap in 2013.
That's good.
There's a reason they had to go get Marlon Byrd in August.
Yeah. Man, he was
Granted, Jose Tabata did hit 282 that year. Go ahead and look it up. I
wonder what he's doing. I did see that he removed the kiss on his cheek.
Yes.
Neck lips are gone.
Such a disappointment.
I was heartbroken.
Yeah, you never know. You never know.
All right, I'm done sharing Pirate stats. I'm sorry.
What else you got? I got a couple more minutes. 7 minutes till 11. We'll go till then.
No, you bring up, and this isn't even a question. This is just more an observation. And I was listening to the Mookie Betts podcast.
Mm-hmm.
He had JD Martinez on.
Yeah, he's so good at that, by the way.
Great.
What
Well,
isn't he
Mookie
good
Betts
at?
is just Mookie Betts is good at everything.
He's good at everything, dude.
But that Mookie Betts, JD Martinez, when he had JD Martinez on, a lot of what they talked about was, when they were in Boston together, 2018. They were both. That was Mookie's MVP year. That was the year JD was competing for like the Triple Crown. The two of them were basically each other's hitting coach. They had the same guy that they went to see, who wasn't the Red Sox hitting coach, but it was just some guy who I forget what the facility out is in LA that they went to, but it was just that guy. And JD basically hired him full time, and so he was just always there with him and Mookie, and the three of them essentially would just talk hitting nonstop. And it was just it was just a really interesting conversation that the two had about they were just obsessed with hitting, and that was just all they talked about, and just the two of them made each other better. So it's interesting just how it works, like at that level. Like they didn't mention the Boston Red Sox hitting coach once, and they say like great guy and everything, but like their swing and the way that they worked, like this dude was their guy, and they just kind of got together, and the two of them had the best year of their careers. And obviously Mookie Betts is Mookie Betts, and JD Martinez. You're talking about two really, really good hitters, but yeah, it was kind of just interesting hearing their story.
And there's something to be said about that. Like, you look at what they did in Boston. That's why they went and got him. And I'm sure Mookie had a little bit to do with it, because he had a down year prior to that. And he went out there and he really, swung it well. And guess who hit really well out there too? Hayward.
Yeah.
I'm sure Mookie had something to do with that too, because it was only a matter of time and it was going to be a huge work in progress. But that's the difference of having a guy like Mookie who goes above and beyond, flies out private to go learn new things at Driveline. I hate that they made that such a big deal, but like he's always looking for the new, and it's because of JT. He wasn't that way prior to JT. JT had to reconstruct his entire swing, just like Justin Turner. And guys that do that have a different understanding. Like I always said, like Mike Trout's probably the worst hitting coach ever. Ohtani's probably the worst hitting. I don't want to talk to those people. They're not human. You know what I mean? Like there's no point in me talking to them. Yeah, like Andrew McCutchen
Like Barry Bonds.
Yeah, Barry Bonds obviously didn't work out.
Yeah, just catch it. Your barrel is a glove. Just catch it. Okay, Bonds. Good. Yeah, like
we're sorry, we're not the greatest hitter of all time, Barry.
yeah. It's like Tony Gwynn. None of his guys hit when he was at San Diego because there is a wand that's waved over him, and I think that's why Kutch still has a lot in the tank because of injuries, because of his struggles. He became actually human. And now he understands what he can do to compete, and how he competed this year was remarkable. I think what he did this year blew me away.
Isn't there a story about Matt Diaz going to teach Andrew McCutchen when he was like 13 years old and telling his father, like, I can't teach him anything. His hands are already faster than mine.
Yep. The biggest thing you need to do with Kutch and guys like that is get out of the way. That's why I always had a buddy that was a NFL agent. He took out a double mortgage on his house, put himself to super debt. And I told him not to. I said, why? I said, because you're going to have to go after guys that you can't fix. And you're thinking that all these guys that you're paying for are fixing guys because they have first rounders. You don't help a first rounder run a better 40. They're already a first rounder. Yeah. They're already an elite talent. So when they go into combine, the key is just do okay. And I watched that for years. And that's the thing is like the greatest people, if you look at what Connor Joe did this year, that's more of maybe Andy Haines of what he did. If you look at what Palacios did, that's maybe more of what Andy Haines did. Cause you saw those guys actually really improve that have had a lot of tests in the big leagues. So they are fighting for their life.
So once they're in the major leagues, this is just a question I have. How much of it is swing related? How much of it is approach related when you're a hitting coach?
I would say approach related and timing related, not timing at the plate, but timing when you play. If you're not matched up well, you're not going to win. Like I remember Todd Helton telling me that if he goes into a series and he faces, let's say the San Diego Padres, and he doesn't match up well against PV and whoever else he's facing, his goal is to go 0 for 3. So if he plays 3 games, it goes 0 for 3, he's 0 for 9. Right? So that's a win for Todd Helton because he's probably not going to see that fourth guy that's not, that he probably can hit. Nowadays, with all the matchups and all the nasty stuff, like Connor Joe and Sawinski both hit a wall because they didn't face guys that they could naturally hit. And that's tough. Same thing with Henry Davis. Like when guys don't get set up well, it's tough. I mean, my year to year was based on really who I faced. And you can kind of see it match up like, okay, well, he ran through 5 guys he shouldn't be able to hit by matchup standards. I'd never pitch hit him in this situation. And it's funny because you can look at it and really set up guys for success. It's just, it can get quirky, if that makes sense.
It does.
Like you've established that Key Bryant's having a day off, and then all of a sudden the guy that he's absolutely dominated in the past or matches up well that gets called up, he should play. That helps the team. That helps his confidence. So I would say that's the biggest thing is matching guys up. Like what they did with Palacios this year was remarkable. They put him in great situations to pinch hit. A bunch of guys that missed naturally down and in, right? Like he crushed. Yeah.
That was incredible what he did
in the
this
9th
year.
inning.
The overall numbers were terrible. I mean, you just look at the slash line, you're like, this guy's a bad Major League Baseball player. But the dude he came through when it mattered, like time in and time out.
Yep. His value is so big for that team. Like he has to make that team. They need that personality. and
we
he'll
talked
be a
about-
veteran presence.
Hmm.
Yeah.
You talk about how you value players, and it's like jokingly we talk about Sawinski, like how do you value him? Like you look at the WAR and everything, but like he disappears for so long, and like with Palacios is like the same thing. Like how do you value him? Because before the 9th inning, you probably don't want him playing, but like when the 9th inning on, you definitely do. And he's won, like he probably won the Pirates like 5 games, but is he a 5 WAR player? You know what I mean?
Right.
Like he's a
Right.
he's a 0 WAR player. It's like how do you value that type of player? That's where we're at in baseball.
And two, you got to look at the bats he took. All those lefties that Sawinski didn't hit against, guess who hit against them?
He did.
Right. And naturally, if he hits 230, he's a legend because he faced the guys he should not be facing if they were setting him up for success. And that's the hardest part. You know, that's the hardest part because you have to look at that. And no young guy should ever play off the bench because they've never done it before. And being a guy that had to do it, it's really hard. I didn't figure it out until I decided I am a bench player because they kept telling me I was a starter. I was a guy that was going to get 300 at bats. And I wasn't. So I decided I'm going to get 150 at bats. I'm going to plan like that. I'm going to train like that. And if I get a start, I'll take off. And that helped me. You know, and that's hard to tell someone. Oh, by the way,
Right.
True.
you know, your entire life you were a starter, but now you're a backup. But I think if they did that, it'd be really, really good for guys. But Palacios, Kutch, those guys, like Kutch having 2 years under his belt, DHing is big for him. That's why I think he took a step forward DHing because it's hard.
You were definitely like the anti-Palacios because as a starter, you had a 750 OPS. As a sub, you had a 480. So yeah.
Yeah. And I was a terrible
Not
pinch
that I have
hitter.
those numbers up or anything.
Yeah. Yeah. I was a terrible pinch hitter, by the way. Terrible. And they kept throwing me out there. I don't know why. I bet I got 2 hits. You should look that stat up. Literally, like 50 at bats, 2 hits. Take all those away, and I was probably a pretty good player. So yeah, I'm excited. It's gonna be a fun team. Let me know about winter meetings.
We'll definitely talk more.
Yeah, I like talking to you guys because you guys think outside the box and you're very educated.
Except
Especially
for,
Jim was on fire today. Let's all
Hey.
recognize
Rude.
Jim was on fire today.
It's rude.
Let's go.
You're never on fire.
Okay.
Yeah, you stay in
you-
that lukewarm area, right where you need to be.
Did you tag Julio Lugo or not?
There he is. There he is. There he is. There he is. What are we? Almost 2 hours in. I knew it was coming.
I mean, hey, Jerry Meals lives like 10 minutes from me, so I think I got to side with him.
Does he really?
Yeah.
You should take him something that is a tag to his house for Halloween,
I'm not gonna lie.
or just dress up as him with the cane.
Thankfully, time has passed enough, but at that time, I was very, very angry at that night. Very angry. My Facebook will show it. But time has passed. I kind of feel bad for him now.
Just
He
think
missed
we're never
one.
gonna have a 19-inning game again, probably.
Right.
Yeah, imagine
Nope.
having to go to 2-a-days after that Fort.
now the playoffs still don't have the Manfred rule, I don't think.
We're-
So
we
that's
are
good.
overlooking Tyler's problem here. I had to
Nobody
go
cares
to
about you.
2-a-days after Fort missed a tag.
What were you, the water boy?
oh, is a kicker.
Oh, were you? My
Oh,
my
God.
little nephew, he's really good at soccer, and he decided to kick, and I guess he's really, really good. So,
Imagine going to a 2-a-day and you have to
And-
go.
well,
Just- Why are you so tired? 'Cause
You were
Fort
a
missed
kicker.
Tag
2-day for a kicker? Come on.
kicker. You think I can
Come on.
kick
This is
anything?
back when Tyler was 115, though.
Yeah, that's
Yeah. The only thing I kicked was
Playing
everything
pee-wee
around my
football?
bedroom. The only thing I kicked was everything around my bedroom after Fort missed a tag.
Yeah. Okay. Touche.
Although that whole thing was my Facebook profile picture yelling at the umpire for about a year.
It was a mess.
huge mess.
All right.
down
Well, on
that
that
aisle.
note, let's get out of here.
Absolutely.
Anyways, appreciate you coming on, Fort.
Hey, anytime, guys. I really enjoyed it. and
Appreciate it, man.
let's not go as long, so like I don't get all hot and bothered, and we get
Hey, that's on you.
deeper.
Don't
I
blame
know
us.
you guys. I will
You
be
never shut
honest.
up.
I really do enjoy coming on every single time because And I hope you guys do get media passes if there's anything I can do to help, because you're a breath of fresh air when it comes to quality questions, open box thinking. I mean, just the fact that like we had a conversation about Oscar and Andy and everything that's going on. That's what Pittsburgh needs. And
Appreciate it.
I love it. Yeah, keep doing it. I love what you guys are doing. Keep growing. Hope it continues to move forward and you guys get what you want out of it. If I can help, let me know.
Will do.
Sounds good. We appreciate you, Fort.
No problem, guys. By the way, Jim, what is that hat? I like that hat.
This is a Louisville Slugger hat.
I can't wear that. Okay, good deal. I'm an old Hickory guy, so I
Uh,
like that hat though.
yeah, it's like the Hillerick and Bradsby, Louisville, Kentucky, Louisville Slugger. Yeah.
Nice. Well, when you guys go to Nashville, maybe guys can run it up to Old Hickory, Goodlettsville. It's a really cool
It's on
place.
my,
They're
it's
really
on my
good
way
people.
there. Yeah,
There you go. Yeah. Let me know. I'll set it up for you guys. Great people.
that would be fun.
Sounds good.
All right,
Yeah.
boys.
All right. Let's get
Oh,
out of
wait.
here.
One last thing. Do you guys still play? How old are you guys?
So I was in a
PlayStation?
men's
Yes.
so I was in a men's league about until COVID, basically. And like a wood bat over 25 men's league. There was a ex-Reds pitcher in the league. He dominated everybody. Chris Rietsma, maybe, I think, was in the league.
Okay.
Like killed us. But no, I tore my bicep pitching and haven't played since.
Well, rehab.
No.
I need some players. I'm recruiting for next year in Nashville. I'm not losing. I lost every single game. Tied 4. I was 0-3-4 in Nashville last week in a adults fantasy camp. So
Tyler can take Kyle Hendricks deep.
Naturally.
Yeah,
I forgot about that one. I forgot about that one. Yeah.
No, I could,
Well-
I can not pitch. I just want to be able to pitch.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. The competition's all over the place. I had guys that were 60. I had guys that were 35, 40. There's guys throwing 85, and there was guys, my best pitcher looked like the guy from the ranch with the mustache. He threw every single inning almost, and every time I took him out, we lost. So need some extra players.
Sounds
If
like
you
some
guys-
bad managing.
all I do is
Oh,
go
it was
to
terrible.
baseball.
I lost. I actually beat our team one day. I played right field for the other team and threw a guy out at home. So I kind of felt bad. So if you guys want to play, let me know, because it was a really fun event, but we need to be better. And Sam Fran was flying guys in from San Francisco. So it was real. It was legit. Played
Yeah.
at Sound Stadium. It was fun.
Wow.
So let me know
Good
if you
job.
have any interest. I'll get
I
you on the
probably
short
strike
list.
them all out. No big deal.
There you go.
Do you, hey, do you pitch? I need a pitcher.
Against the high school baseball team I coach, yeah,
Yeah. How old are you?
30.
You can't pitch. Not old enough. I need a
I'm a
35-year-old.
lefty.
Well, we'll get you a new birth certificate.
I was
No,
gonna say, I am
naturally.
40.
We're good then.
Yeah, yeah.
Like a reverse Danny Almonte situation.
Yeah, or we could just
There
bring
we
you
go.
in a stray jacket and just say, "Hey, this guy's a little messed up. He doesn't
Hey.
get out much."
The mind
we'll
and
let
the
you-
body is about
That's
60.
Tyler.
He wouldn't even have to act. Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah,
There's no acting here.
yeah.
I act 60.
All right, guys. Yeah, but seriously, look into that, because I think you guys would have a blast.
Sounds good.
All right,
Yeah.
boys. Talk to you later.
All right. Let's get out of here.
Appreciate
All
you.
right, see you.
Bye-bye.
Peace out, Girl Scouts.
Hey, you all. Thank you for watching. I know we try to provide the most entertaining content that we can, and we'd love to spread it to as many people as possible. So I know it doesn't seem like a lot, but if you could take the 5 seconds to like this video and subscribe to the page, it helps out so much more than you know. Thank you, and let's go Bucks.